So here's a quick tour of the late garden. I'm kind of in the middle of it at the moment, so we'll give you a quick tour. This side is corn. Pardon my shadow. I'm not a pro here, guys. I'm just a dude in a garden. So here's our corn, and they're doing great. They're silking out. They're only about 4 foot tall, but everybody's happy. But you can see we got some silks and stuff happening in here. Everybody's pretty happy with that. Then on the other side, the next row, this is all squash. From this is all squash right in here. We have 2 rows that have grown together, and they're doing really good. Not everything germinated. As you can see, we've got a spot here where there was one that's supposed to be and it didn't happen. Then as you go past these 2, there's no squash there either. So that's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But we do have lots and lots of growth. If you get down in here, you can see flowers and what have you. And we do have some pretty good sized fruit growing. Got to get in here and get to them. There's one right there. It's not too bad. Got a couple of others in here that are pretty good size, doing their thing. They're kind of hard to find. And one of the reasons that they're so hard to find is there's lots of foliage. And there's a lot more foliage than there are fruit right now, because these guys have been on a nitrogen diet. And most of you guys already know that if you feed a lot of nitrogen to your plants, you get a lot of greenery, but you don't get a whole lot of fruit. So this is squash and squash next to our corn. And at one point there were supposed to be beans in here, but the beans didn't take. Check this out. Check these guys out. How cool is that? A couple early morning balloon riders. You can actually hear them blowing their flames. He's down low. And the white truck there that you see on the, I don't know if you can see it or not. The white car is the chase car for those balloons. He looks like he may be coming down. Yeah, this guy's gonna come in for a landing. Anyways, back to the garden. He's doing his thing. We'll zoom back out. So we have squash and squash. We have, you could just kind of see them intermixed, but there are cucumbers in here. Supposed to be a whole row of cucumbers, and they didn't quite take. We got a few. I think we got 6 or 7. And they're not making big cucumbers yet. They're making little cucumbers. Look at there. Then we have an intermix of zucchini and pumpkins. And they have grown together into one big glob. And we do have pumpkins growing. They're little bitty right now. And then as you move over, you can see the foliage changes. These are watermelons. And they're covered in grass on both sides. So you have giants here, then you have black diamonds here. And they're making lots of fruit. We've got lots of little baby watermelons growing. And so the question is, why let the grass grow like this? And I'm not a pro, but my theory is, let the grass grow. Yes, you've got to feed the grass, just like you got to feed the watermelons. But if you do that, the grass provides shade, and it keeps the soil from drying out. Does that mean less watering? No, not necessarily, because they're taking up water. But it does mean that we don't have a topsoil that's getting hot. That's my theory. Is it working? Well, I think so. It does require a lot of water, but as a result, there's a couple little black diamonds there. They're doing okay, And this place, if you dig in the grass, you'll see that they're absolutely covered in them. And the giants, here's an example of what we've got going on the giants. This is the size of a, size of a maybe softball. And it's heavy. And interestingly enough, the other thing that I'm seeing a lot of are bumblebees. Or not bumblebees, but honeybees. They are everywhere. This place is, if you get your ears down at the level of the flowers, this place is quite literally a buzz of activity. But as you can see, we've got watermelons coming all the way down. Those are all watermelons down there. And last very rough loose count was we have about 50 watermelons on the make right now. We have at least that many cucumbers and at least that many zucchinis. But everybody's maturing, so the next step is now to move from that nitrogen rich feeding to a more balanced feeding that's got other nutrients in it. So now everybody's established and we can start making bigger fruit. They'll make fruit with just nitrogen, but they'll make more fruit if you have a more balanced diet. But we wanted everybody established before the heat hit, and since we were starting in so darn late, that's what we opted to do. So one last thing, or two last things I guess. We have our 2 tomato plants that are actually in the garden. We have one up at the house doing very, very well. It's a cherry tomato. These guys, one of them is an heirloom and one of them is a giant, I think. I forget. But they're doing okay. No fruit yet. A few flowers, but no fruit. They're trimmed up so they're not on the ground. We get rid of the suckers pretty regularly. But with the heat doing what it's doing right now, we don't expect fruit for a little bit. And then last but not least is we have our square of maybe okra. We're calling it maybe okra because it was put in so late. Everybody else is already doing several pickings of okra. They're getting lots of veggies, and ours is so late. I mean, this should look like this in what, early May, late May maybe, and here we are at mid-July. So we might get something out of it. We'll see. It's fun to watch them grow though. So anyways, there's the little mini garden. Hope you enjoy.